Hello, students. I'm going to try something a little bit different to help you get a feel for proofreading and for reading for punctuation. This is a strategy that you can use in your own writing to be able to determine where sentences begin and end. And I'm going to do this with a poem. And a lot of people think because poems are written in lines, like you see my cursor going over the lines, that you stop your voice at the end of every line. But that's not how poetry is read. Poetry is read instead just like a story from punctuation mark to punctuation mark. So you see the period here at the end of at your ankles? That's the end of a sentence. And so your voice should go down and stop at the end of the sentence instead of at the end of each line. And here's another period. And so your voice goes down at the period, indicating that that's the end of the sentence. Now, when you read your own work, the tendency is to ignore the punctuation marks and just read it as you hear it in your head. But unless you pay attention to punctuation marks, you're going to make mistakes with sentence errors. And those sentence errors are in the form of comma splices, which are two sentences that are divided by a comma instead of a period. There are fragments, which are incomplete sentences. They lack a subject or a verb. Or run-on sentences, which are sentences that are joined together with no punctuation at all. Now, this week I gave you some videos on understanding subjects and verbs, on different kinds of sentences, simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences, and how to put compound sentences together. Now we're going to have some proofreading with this poem, and then next week we'll talk in a little bit more detail about the kinds of sentence errors that you might be making and how to fix them. So when I read this poem, The Journey by Mary Oliver, I'm going to write in Mary Oliver's name because it's always important to have the author. I am going to read this from punctuation mark to punctuation mark, regardless of the lines. And so that is how I want you to proofread your It's Okay to Use I essays. Okay, from punctuation mark to punctuation mark. And especially pay attention to the periods. All right, here we go. This poem is called The Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. Now you notice my voice went down at the end of each period. So if there are places in your I essay where your voice goes down and stops, but there's no period there, that tells you that that sentence is missing something. And I hope this helps you a little bit.